Hello, I'm Rob, and today I will be looking at the news, specifically environmental news, um, but I might have some social news sometimes. Um, I made a video previously before I got into the news for today that talked about how the conservative government is wrong about drug policy. Since then, there have been uh, additional comments made by Pierre Polyev that are discriminatory and incorrect. I, I, I might make a follow up short uh, regarding that. Uh, but I'll start with looking at some of the news. Oh, and I will also see if I believe YouTube is live as well. Uh, it doesn't show up on my YouTube. Um, I'll figure that out. But I believe I can still see comments. Um, so it has been the first article. I will go to news item and then transition. So it has been 20 years since Peterborough's historic flood, and I know that is flooding in Toronto as well. Um, so I will look at that. So that's the first article. 2004, there was 14 billion liters of rain. 240 millimeters fell from July 14th to July 15th, 20 years ago. I believe it's more than it says that this is a 1 in 100 year storm. I believe that this is more than 1 in 100 years. I'll have to look into that. um, the rain impacted Alberta. Um, this is what the street looked like. A photo of one of the streets in the city of Peterborough. 100. Oh, the rain varied from 100 millimeters at the Peterborough airport to 240 millimeters recorded at Trent University. And one of the big factors in a storm is it's not always the amount of rain, but um, how much falls in a specific amount of time. Sometimes it's the velocity of the rain. there was a report that says 80% of the pipes in the city stormwater were undersized, um, and I read in the flood reduction master plan that they didn't meet the 5 year standard for flood reduction. Or 5 year standard for flood at the time. Yeah, they talk about impervious surfaces not being designed well. I plan on making a video on why wetlands or how wetlands reduce flooding. Um, so that's coming out sometime this week. Um, the fire department was inundated with calls from across the city, probably like Toronto is now. I found I believe that there was another article. 171 long-term care residents were evacuated. 1,000 homes had gas lines disconnected. Um, and there was power outages. Salvation Army served 10,000 meals. And then I saw that the city of Peterborough has an interactive map about the city, about the flood. Um, Let me see if I can find that. City Peterborough. Yeah, there was a press release. City of Peterborough marks the 20th anniversary of the flood. There was an interactive map on peterborough.ca 2004/flood. Um, um, the current mayor at the time was Sylvia Sutherland, and Mayor Jeff Leo was the council at the time. Um, there's a quote: "I will never forget seeing the widespread damage across the city on July 15th, 2004. As a newly elected MPP, I was deeply concerned about the well-being of Peterborough residents who were facing incredible adversity. What happened in the following days was inspirational. Neighbors helped one another, volunteer organizations converged to help with recovery efforts, and all levels of government provided support." There's more to the quote, um, and then there's additional information. Um, yeah, and then in the video about how wetlands um, impact help reduce flooding, I'll talk about how the city of Peterborough and the provincial government has undermined uh, flood protection, or undermined wetlands, and have um, made the situation potentially worse. And I'll talk about flood reduction and the City of Peterborough flood reduction master plan, as well as there was a government. Uh, there was an advisory uh, webpage. Oh, here it is. Advisory webpage. Interior Special Advisor on Flooding Report to the Government. I'll read that as well. So, yeah. So I'll go to the next article. Next article is. Oh, am I? So this is dealing with Toronto. I'm just looking at like what's happening today. Toronto hit with widespread power outages and flooding after heavy storm. Get the latest information here. And it says 167,000 customers without power. Um, I saw photos of the Don Valley. I'll see if I can find a CP24 article. Um, so no significant rain is expected for the rest of Tuesday. There was more than 700 calls to 311 about basement flooding. And then those photojournalists from CBC across Toronto captured dramatic images of rescues and swamped calls as the city came to a standstill in flood-prone areas. Um, I also read like an opinion piece in the Globe and Mail that um, flooding is caused by uh, municipalities, and this is largely accurate because of the amount of impervious surfaces. Um, so I'm just looking at some of these photos. That's Union Station filled with water. That looks like um, soil from outside. Um, yeah, that's a taxi driver stranded. I can't tell if that's water in the background or what. Oh, it does look like it's water. Yeah, I can kind of see the water in the. It's dimly lit. There's power outages. Oh wow, that what street is that? That looks like a river. Oh, that's the Don Valley. Oh wow, that completely looks like a river. Like those submerged vehicles, tow truck operators will be probably busy. People are sharing food. It looks like pizza. Um, so people pulled up with pulleys from stranded vehicles. Oh wow, that's busy traffic. Um, um, Bay Street. If you know Toronto, like Bay Street is like huge, massive, busy area. So seeing this empty or neo empty, there was one person. Um, yeah. Um, CBC offices. There was a power outage. Some more photos of the Don Valley. I think the Don Valley does flood often. I hear about it almost every year around this time. Um, but there's also like a reason why um, people don't build homes next to wetlands. They're not supposed to because like um, these areas have flooded. Hurricane Hazel happened in the 1950s, and a lot of people died as a result of some of the flooding. Um, so they're all like changes that have been made as a result of previous natural disasters, um, and hopefully we learn from those. I'll talk about some of the reasons why we haven't. Well, some of the areas where we haven't. Um, Mayor Olivia Chow was saying people to be careful amid the flooding. Um, so that's a big rainstorm. Um, I might say CP24. CP24.com. Oh, I don't want that. I want. Oh, I don't know why it says registry, but it should say news, but. Oh, so I am. I don't think I have a break. I'll have to make one, but I'm just going to head to the washroom for for a minute. Sorry about sorry about that. I am back. So um, So CP24 cleanup will take hours. Oh, those live updates. Calls stranded on the DVP. Yeah. So it's widespread flooding. Some of the news anchors were stranded. And yeah, so that's that news story. Oh, and I will go back. Transition. There is another article about the 20th anniversary. This time it's in the Peterborough Examiner. It's called A Watershed Moment, reflecting on the 20th anniversary of the 2004 Peterborough flood. Some residents were evacuated. There was severe damage to infrastructure, bridges, culverts, pipes, wrecked basements, homes, businesses. The Peterborough Library and the Museum and Archives were also damaged. Um, the article talks about what the city has invested in, including backflow valves and disconnecting foundation drains and downspouts to prevent basement flooding. Those investments in installing rain gardens to store and discharge rainwater more slowly. Those mentioned about climate change. Um, with hotter weather, those more ability for storms to hold water. Rapid melting in the wintertime for more winters. Um, and then it's saying ongoing investments in traditional stormwater infrastructure combined with natural infrastructure such as trees, watercourse, and wetland naturalization are needed to withstand future extreme storm events. And this article is by Ian Boland, the Water Resource System Manager, Planning Development and Growth Management of the City of Peterborough. And this is an opinion piece. So I will go to the next article. So this is Kingston news. I'll quickly look at this. Kingstonius. Um, Kingston City Council votes to extend a textile recycling program. Um, I'll just see if I can. Oh, convert it into. See if I can read it this way. Um, it's just loading. But I do. While it's loading, I do support the expansion of textile um, collection. Um, it, Textile waste is a huge issue. Um, but I'll go on to another article while that loads. Okay, so I don't see anything that stands out. Oh, here it is. Okay. Oh, okay. So it's still locked. Um. Okay. So the textile bins were in place, but they're going to extend um the bins. Um, okay. So this is from the NOLA. So there was an investigation extending the economics. Um, TC Energy staff will discuss how they view Indigenous involvement in projects. Those executives will recorded. Um, there's a bit of background about some of the projects. Um, so calling it the first, this is a quote from the article, calling it the first project of its kind. House Executive Chief Counsel Crystal Smith said the liquefied natural gas project is trailblazing a path toward economic independence. Um, And then there's a quote from David Eby. Justin Trudeau echoed remarks. Um, did I say who wrote the article? It's from the Noel. It's from Matt Simmons and Fatima Seed um, on July 16th. Oh, there's something. Oh, I just got notifications on my phone. That's nothing, nothing of urgence. Um, so Eby and Trudeau described the project as a partnership and a step between towards reconciliation. Oh, my screen. Yeah. Um, and the executives discussed what type of partnership that means to them. Noel learned that one of the conversations included conversations about how indigenous communities and other stakeholders could be leveraged by fossil fuel companies as a force multiplier. So that's concerning that um, they're using indigenous people to build um, projects. Um, and I'll get into like how like the industry. It doesn't matter if to the industry or the government if there's consent from indigenous people. Um, um, there's 2 hours of leaked recordings. Um, Indigenous LNG, there's a quote from one of the executives. Indigenous LNG is going to lead in terms of public narratives for government in getting these projects approved. There was no response. Um, the senior vice president, Patrick Matot of TC Energy, um, vice president of external relations, said that the company works to build trust with communities and apologize to all partners, stakeholders, and rights holders for any impact on our long-standing relationships. End quote. There's a quote. They can't use me and my people, Ontario Chief, carefully eyes possible partnership with TC Energy. Sergeant Ojibwe Nation um, um, is, and they're currently deliberating with TC Project. Um, and they're conducting their own environmental assessments to understand the impacts. Um, um, and oh, um, It says Chief Greg Najuan is saying that leaked recordings illustrate why he must work more carefully in the relationship. Um, there's a history. Um, they did not get consent from uh, what's written hereditary chiefs with the Coastal GasLink pipeline. Even though uh, that's part of um, UNDRIP, the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People, and it's apparently provincial law in British Columbia. Um, it says that the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People, legislated both federally and in BC, informs Indigenous peoples' right to self-determination and to provide free, prior, and informed consent to any development on the land. Um, so um, a TC Energy executive who did resign. Um, Talked about how the company's success in building energy infrastructure hangs on Indigenous involvement. There's a quote: "All of this effort is not if there isn't Indigenous support or at least Indigenous non-objection," which is not the same as consent. Um, Free, prior, and informed consent. Um, um, IFE, the executive used the word validators when talking about how companies should create relationship with Indigenous communities that solve the company's goals. Um, so, um, so that doesn't sound like um, what's the word? Yeah, respectful towards Indigenous nations. Um, um, Wet'suwet'en hereditary chief Namwaks told the Knoll he believes First Nation leaders are sometimes used by fossil fuel companies to advance industry initiatives, and suggests the comments on the recording are not surprising. And then there's another quote: "When they start to refer to bracket indigenous peoples as validators, they are taking the path of least resistance." He said fossil fuel companies are targeting people that are in economic need, thereby forcing First Nations into agreements. Once those agreements are secured, um, and he's talking that he's seen companies use Indigenous leaders to repeat industry talking points. Um, um, yeah, so the hereditary chief wasn't happy about being referred to as a validator, um, or indigenous nations. Um, and then the TC Energy executive says indigenous support is a force multiplier for fossil fuel projects. Um, okay, so then that's the end of this article. Oh, I'll go transition. This is a similar article. It's leaked from the normal as well. Leaked TC Energy recordings prompts BC to probe claims of outside lobbying influence on government, um, on how fossil fuel companies weaken climate policy. Um, there was a lunch and learn session attended by about 150 people in March of 2024. Well, I spoke the TC executive. Um, there was a recording where the executive took credit for influence climate views of the British Columbia Premier, which has shifted from um, it's not possible to continue expanding fossil fuel infrastructure and still meeting demand for supporting fossil fuel projects. I don't know if I highlighted any. Oh, here. And then those executive roles were not being disclosed despite legal requirements to do so. Um, and then there was um, there was a comment about strawberries or romaine lettuce while at Costco. So trying so those government influencing the government. Um, so the person isn't with the company anymore, and they said that some of the statements were untrue, that the individual made. Um, so these two stories are concerning, or I should say, three, because the third one is connected. Um, this article is from The Guardian. British Columbia investigates claims of energy company dramatically influenced climate policy. And it looks like it's the same article. I don't know if I highlighted anything. or not same article, but like similar. Um, um, oh, this is the company had effectively written briefing notes for provincial ministers and premiers and prime ministers as a way of helping overworked and underpaid civil servants who just want the job done for them. And I've alleged the ladders get stuck on government letterhead and sent out to elected officials. So that's clearly um, influencing public uh, government officials. It sounds like that's an illegal practice. Um, illegal lobbying. Um, I'll have to look into that. But I don't think that you can make briefing notes for government officials if you're part of the industry that's being regulated. That that's a very compromised position. The company strategically placed people so they can bump into key government figures at the airport terminals or grocery stores over the weekend. Um, there's a quote: "You'd be surprised how much. Oh, you'd be surprised how much work I actually get done in the cooler at Costco because I bump into significant minister or bureaucrat that I really want to spend some time with, and I can do that next to the strawberries or the romaine lettuce." That was the quote I mentioned earlier. So watch out for the romaine lettuce at Costco, everyone. Like especially if you're like a politician, like oh, and strawberries, like um, so I'm just going to look at. Oh, I'm just going to take a break. Oh, yes, this is me. I'm doing well. I am back. Sorry about that. Oh, I'll check. Hmm. Okay, so yeah, so I'm looking at the Guardian newspaper. I'll try to get different news, international. Not, I don't want to use the BBC because of transphobia, but I'll look at some of the headlines. Um, See if there's anything that stands out as environmental news or at least social news. Um, um, oh, that's interesting. Climate crisis is making days longer. There was a study. Um, so I might look at that later on. Well, actually, I'll look at it now. Climate change in at. I don't. I don't see anyone chatting though. Oh, if you know any like environmental news sites, I would appreciate that. Or any commentary. Um. Oh, this is it. Okay. Um. I do have to be careful about news sites and scientific studies because sometimes um, the news does exaggerate claims um, or takes them out of context. But this is from the Guardian, Damien Connaughton, and its climate crisis is making days longer. Study finds. Um, so if so, this is consoling. Um, Length of each day to get longer. The change is on the scale of milliseconds, but it's enough to disrupt internet traffic, financial transactions, and GPS navigations. Um, so if someone gets lost, climate change might be blamed. Uh, um, so the melting of Greenland and Antarctic ice sheets due to human-caused global heating has been redistributing water stored at high latitudes into the world's ocean, leading to more water in the seas near the equator. This makes Earth more oblate or flatter. So those slowing down the rotation, and it's published in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Science in the U.S. So yeah, that's an interesting impact of climate change that I have not considered. Um, it does make sense that redistributing uh, water closer to the poles because of greenhouse gases uh, would change the shape of the earth. Um, yeah, that's interesting. So the next item is Saskatchewan says 28 million in carbon tax money is safe for now after striking a deal with Ottawa. This is a case that I will be following, um, and it's by Alexander Kwan and Kate McGillivray. Um, so there's a letter of credit. Oh, this is dealing with the Saskatchewan government not collecting um, money related to the carbon levy, um, and that is an illegal move by the government of Saskatchewan. And I made a previous video about it. Um, I might highlight just this section of this video, and um, but the government of Saskatchewan has broken the law. Um, so there is a legal challenge from the province of Saskatchewan, and there was a negotiated settlement or agreement. That they're returning Saskatchewan to a holding pattern. Um, the agreement secures 50% of the outstanding amounts under the Greenhouse Gas Pollution Pricing Act until the full resolution of the dispute in line with legal requirements. And the minister, um, Natural Revenue Minister Louis Claude Bebu, is saying our government remains committed to upholding the significant legislation that propels us towards more sustainable future, and are committed to enforcing the Greenhouse Pollution Pricing Act. Um, so potentially, um, people could end up in jail as a result of these this as a result of not paying um, the federal government as a lot following the um, requirements under the Greenhouse Gas Pollution Pricing Act. Um, says that the government stopped collecting the. It says tax, but it's a levy. There was a Supreme Court case that specifically said that it is a levy. There's a difference between a tax and a levy. Um, and people do get money back. Um, um, Conflict began nearly a year ago, and this is there was unfair because the exemption of home heating oil is used mostly in Atlantic provinces. Um, and he said that natural gas should be included for Saskatchewan. Um, and I did make another video about how the exemption to home heating oil is what's problematic. Um, so I hope to link it in here as well. Um, so the case will head towards the tax courts. Um, and there is Saskatchewan filed a lawsuit in the federal court attempting to stop the COA from collecting the 28 million it said Saskatchewan owed for failing to collect and remit part of the uh, levy. 20. So this will be an interesting court case to follow. Um, but it was abruptly cancelled, and the two sides will indicated that they were negotiating a resolution. Um, um, the minister wrote and there was a release somewhere. So there was a law professor, Roy Gillis, from Western University, who specialized in tax law. Says you can see why both government levels of government would want to make this kind of agreement. And the arguments prior to the deal was two legal claims that the application of the federal carbon tax was unconstitutional, um, which isn't, which already went to court. So I don't think Saskatchewan would win on that, and the COA's attempt to reach into the province's bank account garnishment was unconstitutional. I don't see how the government of Saskatchewan has a legal case here, um, as the carbon levy was already at the Supreme Court of Canada. Um, there's no case law on garnishment. Um, so it's still going to the Tax Court of Canada, and this will be a legal question um, that that will be answered at some point. Um, yeah, and I don't see, and hopefully, I don't really see like Saskatchewan having alternate, like credible climate plans. Um, the carbon levy is a backstop. Um, so yeah, so I'll go on to the next item, um, which is. um, Oh, I think that was um, the last item that I planned on talking about. So I'll go to. Yeah. So those are some of the environmental news stories from today or a couple days ago. I might do. I plan on looking at some of the news on live streams, um, seeing how that goes, and yeah, if you know any uh, articles about the environment, especially uh, f- Canadian focus, um, or um, international, please do show. Um, I'd appreciate that. And I also have um, I'm starting a playlist called Social Bread, um, where I talk about some of the social issues. So I might um, talk about some social issues that come up. Um, yeah, thank you for listening, and enjoy the rest of your day.